This is Andrew for CollectionDX.com taking a look at the Metamor-Force Eagle Fighter from Dancouga. And this figure was provided by Angolz.com. So here at this channel we often look at strange, esoteric, and pretty niche products. This being probably one of the more niche. So if you're a Dancouga fan out there who loves the design of the Eagle Fighter but hates the fact that nearly every set of Dancouga toys has the Eagle Fighter being a tall, barely posable thing that's really just designed to become the head of the main combined mode, Sentinel and Union Creative, along with Studio Half-Eye, have decided to answer your prayers with a dedicated Eagle Fighter action figure. So, he is about a little over 5 inches tall, which puts him around the same size as your average Transformers Deluxe. Here he is with Combiner Wars Off-Road. Although I will say this figure costs about 14,800 yen, which is about 140 around that dollars. And this is what, 16 bucks? So yeah, again, niche item. He feels quite good in the hand, though he is not very heavy because he is all plastic. There is no die cast in this figure. He stands up pretty well despite the fact that he has this humongous backpack. And true to the design of the Eagle Fighter, there's a big face on that backpack you're just kind of supposed to ignore when the toy is not in head mode. As far as articulation goes, you got a simple ball-jointed neck. You can kind of look all around. There's some good tilt to it as well. The wings, this is more for the transformation, but you can in fact pose them in all different sorts of ways. One cool thing that they actually added, which isn't part of the transformation, is if you unlock this part of the wing here, there's a little joint right there, which allows you to bend it inwards just almost all the way. But yeah, that's kind of a neat little feature. Works better in beast mode. The little engine pods slash missile pods on the ends here, these do move. And with regards to the arms, now these arms are pretty articulated here. I'm just going to grab this bit of the shoulder block as I move the arm around. You've got full-on universal joint for the shoulder. There is a part of the shoulder block here that can move up and down as well. Full-on bicep swivel. And a double joint in here, which just due to the shape of the arm doesn't let you get, well actually it does let you get kind of a nice deep bend. And ball-jointed wrists, which you can totally just pop one of the hands off and replace it with, say, the chopping hands, which are mostly used for Eagle mode, but you can use them in robot mode for various things as well. Now, the thing is here with this upper body, this part right here, it loves to come off. It doesn't break or anything, but essentially, this little thing right here, it's a little universal joint. It's ball-shaped, kind of like looks like a Revoltech joint. These just don't peg in as tightly as they should. You could thicken that to tighten them up. Just be aware, that's kind of the only major downer with this figure, because it's otherwise pretty well built. You actually do have a waist swivel on this toy. What you do is go around the back, you pull up this part here, and there's a little tiny joint. You can kind of see it just moves up and down, and this allows you to basically unlock the upper body and get some use out of the waist joint. So with the hips, they do a couple of interesting things. The hips are just universal joints that can move forward, and to get them to move out, you can actually pull this whole section out a little bit, and now you've got a bit more clearance for it to move. There is an upper leg swivel right in the thigh. There's another similar double joint going on in the knee area, and you can get the bend about this much. And if you need to, this whole section here around the engine block and the legs flips down, mostly for transformation, but it can help you get a bit of a deeper bend out of the knees if you need it. And just flip that back up there. The ankles, it's a ball joint. The front toe can move. Again, this is mostly transformation stuff, and also the heel can move as well. Mostly for transformation, but it does help in different poses. So it's a pretty good feeling action figure. You can get some pretty dynamic poses out of it. Certainly more so than pretty much every other Eagle Fighter toy out there on the market right now. The only thing you have to worry about is, again, he's got kind of a big backpack. His only other accessory is this humongous beam gun, which is true to the series. And it has a hand attached to it, although this hand is not glued in or anything, so you could possibly take it off, but it feels like you probably shouldn't. And it's pretty easy enough. Take it, oops, put it in the hand, watch as the whole shoulder block comes off again, as I mentioned before. And if you want, you can totally have the Eagle Fighter wielding this with both hands, and it looks pretty decent doing so. As far as like stands, it doesn't come with one. It doesn't have any adapters for one. However, if you have access to like a Tamashii stage or anything similar like that, it's easy enough to just move the backpack out of the way and then just get the clamp right into the back right here for some, decent kind of flying poses. So not too bad, not ideal, and we'll talk about that later when we get to head mode, but still pretty cool action figure for what it is. Alright, so let's move on to aggressive beast mode from aggressive humoroid mode. Alright, so with the transformation, I'm just going to go ahead and pop off the arms. You can leave them attached while transforming the toy, but as you saw before, these things just like to fall off, so for my own sanity, they're going to rest over there for a little bit. So, with the head section here, this part of the cockpit block is on its own little hinge, you can see right there. This part of the shoulder assembly basically rests in this little half circle area like that. But when you bring this whole thing up, it's going to come off of that area, and the hatch for the head will come up, and it will just kind of neatly click in place right there. Now, this section on the back here, you can see there's sort of a little double joint right there. You're going to be bringing these ends up like this, and you also want the ends of these joints right here facing downwards, so the little metal pin, again, kind of basically aligning with the rest of the craft's underside, and it's going to be facing down for eagle mode. You're going to bring the legs out like this, and you can basically see where this is going with Eagle Fighter mode, and the humongous face is going to move on this double joint, and it actually does click into place underneath. So just like that, tidy up the wings, and just tidy up the feet, close them up, kind of Macross or Zeta Gundam style. And there is a tab that goes into a slot on the shin guards. And you just kind of line that all up. Get that in place on both sides. And I appreciate that there are even tabs for all this stuff, because, they could have just left that up to the strength of the joints. And so more or less it does kind of clean up nicely in Eagle mode. Also, you want to kind of click the hip joints back in, bring the nose of the eagle forward, and we're almost done. Let's just grab those arms. So with the arms, what you're going to do is this part, the shoulder block section, is going to end up looking like this when the craft is in eagle mode. And what you're going to do is make sure that the upper part of the forearm is facing out with regards to the underside of the jet mode. So you do that. Oh, now I'm confusing myself. Yeah, you do that, and this should be the right side, and it is. So I'll just stick this back on like that. There's a tab on the other side. It's actually on both sides of the forearm, and that just goes onto, or the slot on the forearm that goes onto a tab right under the back side of the face. So that all comes together, and here we go. You just got to make sure that gets in there. Alright, so here you go. This is the Eagle Fighter, and technically this is the vehicle mode because aggressive beast mode is when it's all glowy and stuff, and Shinobu goes, "Yatte But anyway, so it's again, nice little locked together Eagle Fighter. You do have all the joints you had in an aggressive humoroid mode. And this is where these joints right here make a little bit more sense. Like if you wanted to have this whole thing pointing down, as if the craft was kind of going into like a VTOL mode. So that's how that works. Again, it's neat. As far as like durability, the figure is all right for the most part. The plastic does have some fine points you should watch out for, especially the tip of this nose right here. And yeah, there's a big gap right there, but that's just kind of how this thing is designed. So yeah, that is the beast mode. So let's finish it off with head mode. Alright, so when you're ready to go beyond man, beyond beast, and become a god, you transform the Eagle Fighter into Dancouga head mode. More or less, you just go straight from the beast mode and flip this back up like that. Unpeg or untab the forearms from the bottom of the face here. Take the whole face assembly, and what you're going to do is there's a tab right across the bridge of the nose, and it's going to go into this slot here. And the instructions they show you really should go basically like forward with this, with the tip of the tab like that, as you come down. And no. One of the problems is there's actually a little click on this joint here. So click that up first, this joint kind of right in here, a little double hinge assembly. So click that forward so that you can get the space. And then just plug that in like that. And with the arms in the back here, actually leave those for a second, you're going to untab the legs and bring everything down, and also flip this whole engine section downward. There actually really isn't a place for the legs to tab in for the head mode. You're really just kind of putting them as close as you can get them to the other side of the face. So do that. Finish off by moving the arms out just a little bit. Basically, you want this whole section here to be fully aligned with the arms and the backs of the legs right there. Do that like that. Move this inward, and then, oh, actually I think you're supposed to do it, oh no, yeah, it is like that. This is kind of weird. So you bring this up, you curl it up as much as it can, and then you use the joint that's on the top of the arm to align, just basically bring the fist as close as you can to this part of the shoulder block. So nothing really tabs in here though, so it's kind of weird. Everything is going to be more or less kept in place though, because you bring the wings, and it's actually hard to fold the wings back like this without first angling them, so do that first. So you bring back all this, and then you bring this area up. There's actually a tiny little tab that's going to go into this slot here, right on the side. The missile pods here actually do have their own tab at the very back that goes into, or the slot at the very back that goes into those tabs that the legs used in Eagle mode. So just kind of align that and bring it all together. Again, same thing on this side, angle this up a little bit before you hinge it back all the way. Bring this forward, put this slot onto this tab on the back of the cockpit block. Align this tab right here. And it's not the most like satisfying transformation, I would say, because it's a lot of just like plastic on plastic joints, a lot of friction joints, and again, stuff that isn't really tabbing together. But again, here we go. This is the head of Dancouga. There's no real indication as whether or not this could plug into something. The interior here is it's pretty hollow. And the fact of the matter is you're supposed to leave the feet pointing down like this for the head, which is very strange because there is no stand included with the figure to kind of display it like, oh, it's Dancouga's head, and you'd have a neck joint to put it on, and then you could have this just kind of sitting around chilling. I've had some success with just kind of sticking it on top of a Thomas G stage. Again, some success. It's not the most perfect thing here. Just kind of maybe take off the clamp. I forget how I did this for the photos, but yeah, you can sort of rig up something where this thing will stay, but the problem is that there's really nothing in the back here to do it on. And if you want, you can just leave the feet out, and what you are left with is either a very depressed looking Gradius enemy or well, a rather handsome Rowlet. I mean, the head mode does look very nice. It's a very nice face sculpt. They use a shiny red paint for the eyes so they really glisten in the light. And it is really cool to figure out, like, oh, well, if this is the head, how big would the rest of Dancouga be? So here it is next to Combiner Wars Hook in upper body mode. So yeah, he'd probably be near, like, 17, 18 inches tall altogether, or maybe the size of like a Perfect Great Gundam. So, again, I got like a foot tall if you actually had the rest of the Cyber Beast team. So yeah, this is a weird thing. It does what it needs to do. It's a pretty good toy overall. It's expensive as hell. Again, for the price of this, you can get an entire Masterpiece Inferno. But yeah, this is, again, very niche, and even more so a niche within a niche. This is for Dancouga fans who really love the Eagle Fighter design and also don't necessarily want the rest of the team, or they probably already have at least the Sochiokan or the Metamor-Force Dancouga, or even like the old GNU figure. So yeah, this is it's weird. Definitely weird. Definitely for fans only. But it does, again, pretty much fulfills the need of being the Eagle Fighter, Dancouga's head, and the flying bird robot. So, well, I guess that's all you can really ask for when it comes to a Dancouga toy. So, this has been Andrew for CollectionDX.com. Thanks again to Angolz for setting up this figure, and I am signing off, holding a giant bird head. Backpack.